Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth today. Thank you for joining me. I hope that I'll be able to share some information with you of value. And of course, if you have got any experiences or information, certainly around any of the implied messages of the use of this colour, then please do feel free to make your comments. I'm sure that many of us will value and appreciate them. The other thing too, of course, is that if you have questions and you would like me to answer them, just write them below, tag me on the comment section of the video, and I will respond to them on the yarning videos on the Sunday when I do those ones. But in the meantime, let's crack on. So, as you will be aware, green within itself is not a primary colour, it's a secondary colour and it's a mix of the blue and the yellow. But when we're talking about this particular green, it's a lime green, and so therefore it has more of the yellow in it. It's very sunshiny, and the best way to describe it is actually through the images that I've got on the thumbnail here of this light, bright green and plant foliage. So I'm sure you've seen images such as this chakra one here in the past, but you might not have seen it with a little dot of green there that's above the larger green chakra, which is the heart chakra. The lime green is associated with what we call the higher heart chakra, which is basically at the top of your cleavage. If you're a lady and you put your fingers, there's a little bony structure there. Guys, you'll be able to feel it as well. That is kind of the placement of where the higher heart chakra is. It sits in between the heart chakra, which is kind of at the bottom of the cleavage section away from the bony part. You've got the heart chakra there. Then you've got the higher heart chakra, and then you've got the throat chakra, which is at the nape of the throat. So it does have relevance and healing purpose, of course, and function because it is a chakra. And when there is an imbalance within the higher heart chakra, in my experience and observations, it tends to be associated with anxiety type disorders where people might have panic attacks, or if people have got some really, coughing, really deep-seated grief and loss and trauma. PTSD, I feel, actually sits in this particular chakra as well. There's a level of heart pain associated with it. This is where the heart influences come in, but it also, by the time it goes into the higher heart chakra, we're talking about, as you would be aware if you know anything about these panic type disorders or anxiety disorders and even PTSD, we're talking about impacts on neural function as well. So I guess that's the difference between the higher heart chakra and the heart chakra itself, is that once we go into the higher heart chakra where there's malfunctioning, it impacts definitely on the neural pathways. Evidentially, we know that we've seen through science that PTSD is linked with changes in brain function, and I feel the key to healing of those issues is very much situated in this higher heart chakra. So within that context, it makes sense that this type of green, this shade of green, carries multiple healing powers. It's said to revitalise the nervous system, the heart and the circulatory system, and it can be helpful for lowering blood pressure, restoring the liver, is apparently a good healing colour for the repair of broken bones, so you would visualise those people with broken limbs after they've been set, I must admit. Or caution that if you want to fast track the healing process, you could send healing to the limb to help the bones reknit and refuse together. But of course, it would need to be set in place properly by a doctor before you would actually do this. And just a reminder also that you would not stop seeing your general practitioner or doctor or any form of professional to use the colour healing properties, certainly for physical illness. So another way that you can use the lime green is just to put the people that you love into this orb of a beautiful lime green light, and that's supposed to help fast track their healing progress. In regard to emotional healing, it's said to benefit, or meditative and healing processes are enhanced through using what is referred to as the green ray, which will stimulate growth. It helps to release frustration and anger in a positive way, and it helps to reduce all forms of anxiety. I don't know if other people associate this colour green or the shade of green with grief, loss, and trauma, but I certainly do because, and I'm going to share a story here because way back in the day when I was first using energy, I'd been trained to use energy, I'd been attuned to doing Reiki, and I was sending healing to a lot of people, generally with their consent. And what happened was, I was not familiar. I didn't even know that energy could come in this shade of green. So, this was a learning from experience. I met an elderly lady, and I recognized that she was unhappy and suffering and in pain. I didn't know exactly what the cause of her pain was. We weren't that close, certainly not at that point in time, but we were close enough for me to recognize that something was really bothering her. And I knew in part her story, and that was that she was an elderly lady. She was a widow. She'd been living in South Africa, and I wasn't able at that point in time to really understand the implications and impacts of what this would have had on her state of mind and her state of being. She had children here in Australia who, of course, once her husband died, they brought her out to Australia. And through this relocation, there was a long period of time of uncertainty about her visa processing. And I later learned that she had been feeling particularly alienated from her extended family and her friends, that she'd made across the lifespan, of course. I think she was about 75 when she came to Australia. So she'd spent her whole life. She'd obviously had some experiences of unrest and change and that kind of thing too across the life path, as we do. But she also was, and I'm sure there'll be South African people here or people from Africa that might have a different viewpoint of this, but she told me that her experiences include being brought up white and privileged in Africa, and that they had African servants, these servants were considered to be part of their family unit because, for instance, if they had a nanny, the nanny lived on the same property as what they did. They all had children together. The children grew up playing together. And so to leave the African servants behind, who were, to her extensive purposes, they were her family, she had to say goodbye to all of them when she came to Australia. So it was apparently incredibly traumatic for all of them when she came over. So, where I'm going with this is I wasn't aware of all of this pain that she was going through, this whole compounded pain scenario. I was aware, of course, that I speculated that she was grieving the loss of her husband, although she didn't confide in me. Um, so, anyway, I asked her if she would be okay if I sent her some healing energy, and she said yes, she was. And I just left it at that because, of course, like I say, we weren't particularly close. And she then later approached me to say to me that she had had an experience and asked me, did I know when I sent the healing to her that she would find herself in this beautiful shower of this beautiful, and she described it to me. Now, when she described it to me, I could actually see it because I'm clairvoyant. She called it a lime green shower, and she said that through this process, she felt that she was getting a contact from her husband, her deceased husband, and that she felt incredibly peaceful. Peaceful came through with it, peaceful energy. And she said that she knew that her husband was okay, that he was with her, and that they would meet again at the divine time. So where I'm going with this is it helped her to heal the pain and loss, of grief, I guess, is the best way to describe it. So basically, a message or a suggestion here is that if you're dealing with some really heavy burdens of loss and grief, if you experience panic disorders or you're trying to recover from post-traumatic stress injuries, that you could actually draw upon the colour healing of the lime green. And this is a very simple strategy, one that you can do yourself at any given time when you start to feel over anxious or whatever, and that is to revitalize and renew your nervous system. You would flood it with this beautiful green light. So once again, we would be looking at breathing, aura exercises, which is that sacred breath. Don't forget, we've got videos on how to do the sacred breath as well. But yes, you would draw upon the breathing, and on the exhale, you would fill your aura with this beautiful lime green colour, and you would then rotate this green light around your heart and the higher heart chakra and feel your heart expanding and filling with this vitality. You might want to focus on your crown chakra as well if you feel drawn. Follow your own guidance, and you would also make the affirmation calling upon the Creator by whatever name feels comfortable to you, saying something along the lines of, I now release all pressure and stress from my heart and nervous system, and I ask that my entire being be filled with this healing, revitalizing colour of the lime green. And then, of course, you end all affirmations with gratitude. Thanks be. Or I give thanks because I know that as I ask, so I receive is another one. So a fairly brief video today. Thankfully, I'm keeping to my goals and aims. I want to keep them short and easy for you to access, and easy for you to set some time aside to actually do the activities and listen to the videos as well, and perhaps learn from them. Once again, I invite you to make your own comments. For now, I'm just going to say, hopefully the information I've given is beneficial. I thank you for being part of my journey. I wish you a wonderful day, wonderful week. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye for now.